What is up, guys? It's Mitchell or Deity, and today is going to be an Etheria restart video. So, I'm going to be talking about my opinions of the game, what I like about it, what I don't like about it. This video is sponsored by Etheria, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to give my full take of this game. It's been out for about 2 months. If you guys have tried it, maybe you have your personal opinion on it, you can let me know what it is. I'm going to probably slightly talk about whatever it is that you guys are going to bring up within either your complaints or things you like about the game. But the first thing I'm going to start off with is that this game has so much potential, man. I played the betas. I played in tournaments for the betas. They were all really fun. I always felt like there's a slight balancing issue, which anytime there's a new PvP gacha, it's always going to be speed meta. It's hard to balance a game in terms of how much damage a character does in comparison to how much you can bulk down. They definitely made a lot of mistakes early on with the overall balancing that I think kind of took a lot away from the fun of the game, but they've already released a balance patch. I think they're going to it's going to take a while, but they're going to end up balancing it to where it's going to be very good. And obviously we're going to go through metas. There's going to be the speed meta and there's going to be the bulk down meta, and then once the bulk down meta, they are going to overcompensate about the speed meta being too strong, and that's just how these games go. So right now, speed meta dominated. We just had a big tournament for the game, which was actually really good. I think once they have a little bit more time to continue to, one, up their quality of their game, two, put more resources into their tournaments and everything, it's going to be the best PvP gacha long term. I think it has that potential. Will they capitalize on it and do it right? We'll have to see. But right now, I'm still on the side that this is going to be a good game. Now, the overall point of this video is this game worth playing? I think it is. I think it is worth having an account, getting yourself established. I am making a new player guide. The first episode will be up after this video. It's either going to be later in the day today or tomorrow morning, but it will be a multi-part guide, just like my episode 7 guides, so where you guys can follow along, get an account established, see if you like the game, and then continue going from there. Now, with the early parts of this game, I think they almost are on the borderline edge of speed running their own game. They're listening to the community too much. This might sound crazy, but let's break it down. They're advertising to the extent of Raid Shadow Legends, which I think is amazing. Again, this video is sponsored by them, but Raid Shadow Legends kills it. They make so much money because they're constantly getting new players into the game, and they have a really good game. Despite what any of you guys think about it, they do things very, very well. Now, this game is trying to take the best parts and the most successful parts of every game that they can research and get whatever information they need to see what worked. Their raid advertisement copying, I think, is what's going to help this game end up succeeding long term. Now, the next part about that is going to be let's go into the packs. So this game, with speedrunning it, they made everything extremely easy to achieve. I know the PvE content was hard, especially at the beginning. They're making it easier and easier, and they're going to continue to do that because they want new players to come in and feel like they have a catch-up experience to the players that already exist. And that's a good thing. Every single gacha game has a catch-up mechanic, and they continue to add more and more catch-up mechanics. So look at Epic 7, for example. If you start an account today, you have a million resources, and you basically take your one day, or say you play the game for 2 weeks, you can take an account that's 2 weeks old, and it will be equivalent to an account that was probably 2.5 years old in a 2-week period. And this game will continue to go down the cycle of making things easier, and the character releases, the new characters are going to power creep out the old characters. That's part of gacha games. They have to sell the new character, and in a PvP gacha game, that means the meta is going to be determined by more of the more released characters, and then they'll do buff adjustments to the old characters to occasionally bring them back into meta for a set amount of time, and then they'll fall back out of meta, and it's a continuous cycle. So the new characters will usually always be the strongest, and then the old characters, so the characters you have in your account now, will be good now, fall out for a bit, and then come back in. Now, the hardest part with the game, though, at the beginning, is everybody that spent money is going to feel like they're way ahead. It's starting to balance out more now, and I'll talk about it's going to hit a ceiling to where everyone's going to basically be on the same level. It happens with every, I don't want to say every PvP gacha, because there are some that you can just spend $1 million on your account and be, there is still a ceiling for that, but the ceiling's much higher. The Etheria ceiling is very low. There aren't that many characters, and by ceiling, I mean there's a point that you get to in your account that your characters are 6-star, you have the gear on them, you have your pets. From there, all you're really farming is for gear, 1-2% higher, 2 extra speed on each piece, whatever it is, just trying to min-max that gear, and then farming for your pets. Ideally, a game that comes out should not reach that point too quickly. And I believe Etheria is on pace to reach that for spenders, hitting the ceiling in probably 3.5 months. And then non-spending players would be achieving that in about 6 months. So after a 6-month period, unless they make some crazy adjustments with the game, I feel like everybody who plays, whether you're free to play or were a heavy spender at the beginning, will basically be at that same ceiling. The only difference within the game is going to be the imprints of your characters. I don't know what they're called in this game, actually, but your imprints here. So these are huge. This is going to be where the spenders will still dominate for a while. For everyone to truly hit around the same point, it's going to take much longer, but the same thing happened with an Epic 7. Everybody hit basically the same ceiling, but the thing with Epic 7 was there was a bigger gear level disparity that was possible. So you could end up farming infinitely and be slightly ahead, and everyone called it gear gapping. Gear gapping in this game isn't going to be nearly as possible, especially whenever we're in the more bulk down style metas. So with your gear, the gear rolling of your stats, you don't get much gear stat on them. So like this HP, it's a maxed out Swift Raid. It's not a good piece, by the way, but maxed out Swift Raid piece that it rolled into HP twice. It only has 5% HP. That's not very much. So the only stat that feels like it really matters, especially early game right now, is speed. Having the extra speed to get the additional turns, that's basically the only stat that feels good rolling on gear. If you were to roll all into HP for an entire piece, that's like 13%, you do that for all of it, you basically have one extra right side piece of stat. So the gear in this game is extremely easy outside of chasing those high speed rolls. And that's not great, because what's the point of farming for gear and trying to get your account further progressed? Everyone's going to be at the point where they have their characters all geared, and what are you chasing? An extra 1 or 2%? You're not trying to get that big 50% piece of gear. That's one of the spots I think either needs adjustment, or I don't know how to rework that. There's a couple problem things within the game that I'm going to show. Now, the game overall, I love. I love the mechanics. I love the like debuffing. I do not like the effect res though, because if you were to build effect res on a cleansing character, you're just too squishy. So there's some a little bit balance adjustment needed with that. But the overall skills, I like the debuffs. I like the way the game plays feels really good for a PvP gacha. Just needs a little bit different balancing. Now, if you watch the most recent tournament, the tournament was awesome. But with that tournament, we had the fastest player won. I mean, that's just what it ended up being. Whoever went first ended up winning. It was very hard to combat that. These games are going to go through metas. You're going to have your super speed meta, then you have bulk down meta. The reason for that is they're going to look at the statistics of the game and see that these characters that are going first are dominating. And then they're going to compensate for that and make slower characters that will slower characters that'll deal with the speed characters. So an example would be a character like Moonlight Landy that has a chance to counter and can win you the game just because you got lucky. And that's good for PvP gachas. That makes it to where you always feel like you have a chance. You need to always feel like you have a chance to win in every single game you play. If you don't, the game becomes unfun. And that's where adding RNG layers to a game like this is great. Now, another character would be a disrupting character, such as Green Celine from Epic 7. When the opponent uses a non-attack skill, she will end up attacking and pushing forward. So she can end up killing 2 characters just because your opponent decided to click a skill 2 on Lily. Some kind of character like that will end up helping. But the thing is, they will end up making too many of those characters in a row, and then they'll have to go back and then try to get the turn fast players to have a little bit of an advantage over them to where it kind of balances out, and then it'll go back to, it's going to flip-flop and keep going. Now from there, there's also the debuffing characters. Debuffs are insanely strong in the game right now. If you go in and try to use your Obel plus a Kraken or your Obel plus a Kazuya, whatever it is, it's going to be really strong. The thing is, Obel has a Dispel, and then he has the option. He can either dispel the buffs on your opponent, which if they're going in with immunity set, he can get rid of that and set up your secondary character that's going to control the opponent. Or you can just rip skill 3 if they don't have immunity. And he has options, which is amazing. But an example earlier, though, I was talking about Lily. Lily using her skill 2, if there's a character that disrupts and procs and deals some kind of damage or puts a buff on your team, like defense buff on your team to help you survive whatever hit, or a huge barrier, there's got to be some kind of disrupting character they can do. And I could see that coming. Probably the next 2 months will be characters that help fight that high speed meta. Now, this game, going in, that's just a couple of the early thoughts I had of the game so far. I think it's going to be good. It's just going to take them some time. And again, this game is 2 months old, barely 2 months, or not even 2 months. And I don't even think it's 2 months. It's got like another week. It's already infinitely better than the other gacha PvP games came out within their beginning. Like if you played Summer Sword or played Epic 7 at the start of those games, absolute disaster in comparison to this. This is an amazing project. And it has so much potential. The problem is they have competition because they're competing with games that had the time to fix all their original problems. And that's going to be hard for them to get people in and keep them playing. Now, I think if you were to make an account on the game and just play at your own pace, solely progress, you don't have to play at the top highest level, but if you get an account going now, you will reach that same ceiling as those top players and be able to compete against them. And that is huge. And that's most of these, I mean, Summer Sword didn't really have that because it was locked behind. The game that this reminds me of the most is Epic 7 because Epic 7 had that ceiling. It still has that ceiling. Everybody's at the same spot. A lot of it comes down to drafting. There's not too many players that just outgear everybody else. There are a few, but even with those top players outgearing everyone else, Epic 7 was able to find the balance to where you can RNG your way out. So you can get a certain draft and get lucky and still end up winning. And I think once this game does that, it's going to be fantastic because there is no way in a PvP gacha with an RNG aspect of it to make it all skill. You can't. There's just, and it's also boring. If you go into a tournament, like the tournament we just watched, it wasn't boring. It was fun to watch. But the problem was you kind of knew who was going to win. It was basically who was taking the first turn was going to win. And as the tournament progressed, we knew who the fastest player was. So shockingly, he won the tournament. Now, that will all change, and we'll add more RNG, and it's going to be fun. But again, if you start an account now, you're going to end up being able to hit that ceiling. I'm going to keep playing my account. I'm not trying to compete at the top right now. There's no chance. I'll wait till everybody hits that ceiling. I'll go in and play, and then it's just about learning drafting, and then I'll get to enjoy the game and be able to play at a high level. I mean, my account's already pretty good, but that's the game I think has long-term potential to end up being the best PvP gacha, especially with them doing tournaments, especially with them sponsoring creators and keeping and just the overall advertisement of the game up to get new players in. I think they have the best shot of any game I've seen come out in a long time. Okay, so now one of the best parts about the game, though, is the packs. The best and worst. The packs are extremely cheap. In comparison to any PvP gacha, or just gacha game in general I played, you can get whatever banner character for $100. That's never the case. They're usually 300. The ML characters in Epic 7 are 700 if you were to buy them. That's crazy for one character. The ML characters in this game, I think, are, what, 250? 250 or 300, which is still pretty pricey. But the regular character being $100 is awesome. But the thing is, this game's so free to play friendly in terms of the gems that you get. You don't have to ever spend money. Your options with the game are, do you want to refresh your stamina with your gems, which you can. This is the best thing. I would suggest everybody do this. When I make the guide, that's what I'm going to be talking about doing. But it costs 960 gems a day. You get very close to that just from casual play. You're going to have a ton of gems overall, and you can do a bunch of refreshes. But with the refreshes, really all you're doing, in my opinion, is getting your account to that ceiling faster. And then there's going to be a point you hit that ceiling, you're not going to feel like farming anymore. That's the thing I'm scared of with this game, with them listening to the community too much, is everyone's going to get to the top level. They're not going to feel any reason to farm. All their characters are going to be done. And then if they don't want to play PvP, what's the point of logging in? So the game has some decent PvE within it, and it has Guild Wars, but Guild Wars only once a week. So if your Guild Wars only once a week, your players aren't going to be logging in, and there's not going to be a whole lot to do. I think gear, The reason Epic 7 was so good was the gear was hard. A lot of people didn't like it because the gear was hard, but whenever you don't have hard gearing, and the shell system they're already making easier, that's one of the things is they keep listening to complaints of the community, and the shells, you only need so many shells. There's going to be only so many characters in meta at any given point. So once you have your shells and can just move them in between whichever character you want them on, and just change whatever minimum thing, you don't need to. Your shells are gonna be done so quick. So them changing the shell, the whole shell experience, it long term doesn't make sense. Short term makes everybody happy, but long term, I don't see it being a good thing. There's a lot of things that they're doing, listening to the community, that I think is gonna bite them in the butt in the long run, unless they have some kind of plan, which I'm hoping that they do. But now the packs are great. Summoning on characters costs $100. So if you're a spender, you're always going to get the character. Especially if you've ever played another gacha game and spent on this is going to feel so good to spend on. But if you're free-to-play player, you're going to end up at the same spot those pay-to-win players are. I think the current timeline, in my estimate, looks like 6 months is going to be like the, not full ceiling, but close to ceiling. But going in here, you're going to end up having there's a bunch of packs. They have some skins. Right now, the skins are just recolors. I have a feeling they're going to release some better skins within the game in the future, but for right now, I don't buy them. But if I had a character I really liked, then potentially I would end up buying it. But for right now, I'm waiting for some cool full-on changes with the skins. Now, we do have unions, you have the guild wars. I think that's balanced pretty good. Only having it once a week, though, it's a good thing because the game's easier to keep up with. So we'll finish this whole thought process on the time. Okay, the time amount that you need to play the game is a lot. If you're going to refresh, basically it's a full-time job. You are not a full-time job, but you have to have the game open and be clicking to refresh. They need to make the amount of auto battles so you can do more. There's some things they have to do. Maybe add some quick battles so you can get in and get at least part of your farming done in a short period of time. Or if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of time, that they get in, get your farming done, get out. That would be a great adjustment. And the overall biggest complaint I have now going in to the end of the video here is going to be locking your skill ups behind this. Okay, so whenever you skill up a character in this game, Letitias are a lot of people's main complaint. Letitias are, I think, in a great spot. The beginning of Epic 7, beginning of 7 Sword, any game I've ever played, it takes a long time to level up your SSR characters. Now, they don't have that many SR characters that do enough jobs is the issue. There's just not enough characters in the game. So it makes it feel like your perfect Letitias, you need infinitely more of them. And you do, technically. You always do in these games. But Epic 7, for example, at the beginning of the game, you didn't get enough of the skill up materials to even fully max out a legendary character or 5-star character in a month. You couldn't max out one. It took multiple months to even fully skill up a single character. And that's just how the game was designed. It was very, very hard. This game gives you more than enough to do a max one. But the issue with this game, again, lack of SSRs, just lack of characters in general. I mean, look at the commons. There are 5 common characters, 6 common characters in the game. That's not enough. We need more. 7. I don't know. Maybe there's 7. There's not enough. There needs to be more. There needs to be more options for the PvE. These characters probably should not be used for PvP, but they should have made a bigger roster of characters for PvE to where you can focus on them, build them up, and then focus all your other resources into your PvP roster. That would have been the best case scenario. Another thing I think they slightly messed up on, and that's the underlying reason why the Perfect Letitias feel so bad, is because you have to put so many into your PvE teams to get them established, and it is what it is. I think this is still in a great spot, though. You shouldn't be able to fully finish your characters. You need a reason to log in every day. And if they make this too easy to get, you're not going to log in. But now the main complaint with it, though, is they lock actual stats behind this. This was a disaster on a limited resource. You should not lack stats behind it. It should be multipliers in turn. Like the way that they did the abilities is fine. I like the increased damage. That's common. Increase your effect chance of landing stuff. Makes it 2-turn. Makes it really good. But for characters such as your supports that you need speed on, someone who spends money, especially early game, is going to have all these maxed out and have the extra 15 speed per character plus however much extra HP. It's just too much. They need to switch this. One of the biggest things for just what they're going for with the game of being like the PvP, easy to get into gacha that everyone can play and have fun, not too overly complicated. This is what they need to go and readjust, because locking. I mean, this effect res there isn't a big deal, but the extra HP, extra attack, and the biggest thing is locking the speed behind Letitia's not a good idea. So hopefully they'll change the stuff. Again, this game's only 2 months old, though it has the best start of any gacha game I've played, PvP-wise. Every other game I played, it was fun when it came out, but I didn't realize the flaws within it. Then over time, I realized the flaws within it. This game came out and covered all those original flaws, dealing with promoting characters, dealing with the gearing. I mean, the gearing's a lot easier, but there's just the auto battles, the multi battles in the background. There's so many things that this game did so well that I have full confidence it's going to continue to adjust whatever it needs to make this the game to get into if you want a PvP gacha game, especially if you do not already play the other PvP gacha games. For me personally, I play Epic 7, I play Raid, I play a bunch of other games. I don't log into every game every day. Some days I don't feel like playing the game, and that's just how I play. I'm not a person who, just because I have the game, I have to play it every day. And that's why I think I like this game so much, because I didn't log in yesterday to it. I don't feel like I have to play every day. I'm just going to play at my own pace, progress, and eventually I'll end up feeling like I'm at that ceiling, and I'll go play PvP, learn drafting better, and I'm going to have fun with the game. Enter some tournaments, do what this game is out there to do, is go out and have fun. And that's what I'm going to end up eventually enjoying for that. I already play PvP, and just not the last couple weeks, because if I go try, I do not have enough stuff geared. But overall, do I think it's worth playing? Yes, I do. If you haven't tried it yet, I do have down the link in the description if you want to try it out. This video was sponsored by Etheria, but as you see, I talked about the things I didn't like with the game, but I do think it's worth playing. I think they almost nailed it, and they have plenty of time with how they're doing the game so far to fix those mistakes. And people will end up saying, I'm quitting the game, I'm never coming back, and then a month later they make some super good update and those players are back. I saw it happen over years and years of Epic 7 players coming in and out of the game, and it continues to succeed. So I'm getting the same feeling with this. I'm hopefully that I'm right. And again, if you make an account and just slowly play, I think you're going to end up being thankful down the road. It's a gamble, but if this game ends up being the PvP game to be in, you'll be happy you have the account already started and a bunch of resources on it. Okay, so that's all I have. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know your opinions of the game, maybe the things you like and dislike in the comments, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.